Maya Carter liked quiet evenings. She lived alone in a small, neat apartment on the 12th floor of an old city building. She worked as a data analyst at a local firm. Her days were full of numbers and patterns, and her evenings were for rest. She kept plants on the window ledge and a cat named Noodle, who liked to sleep on warm laundry. Few people knew that her mother was the FBI director. Maya did not talk about it at work or with neighbors. She wanted a normal life with simple routines. She liked to keep her world calm. That evening, the sky was a soft gray. A light rain tapped the windows. Maya came home after a short jog in the park. She hung her jacket, placed her keys in a small bowl, and turned on a gentle playlist. The apartment felt safe and warm. She fed Noodle, who purred and rubbed against her legs. She washed her hands, cut carrots and onions, and started a pot of soup. The smell rose slowly, mixed with the sound of piano music, and made the place feel even more peaceful. She texted her mother a photo of Noodle leaning into the steam as if he was smelling dinner. Her mother sent back a quick heart emoji. That was how they stayed close on busy days. Small messages, small smiles, always steady. The building where Maya lived was old but cared for. The hallways had carpets with simple patterns, and the doors had metal plates with numbers and letters. Her door read 12A. Across the hall, another door read 12B. Their layouts were almost the same. It often confused delivery people and new visitors. Once, a pizza meant for 12B came to Maya at 12A. They all laughed on the landing and traded small talk while the rain tapped outside. The landlord had put up small stickers under the numbers that said A on left, B on right, but the stickers were easy to miss. Some days the hallway was quiet. Other days you could hear footsteps, keys turning, or a dog barking as someone opened a door. Tonight there had been a small noise earlier. Someone dragging a suitcase, a door closing harder than usual. Nothing strange, nothing scary. Maya stirred her soup and tasted it. It needed a little salt. She turned off the heat, put the lid on the pot, and went to draw a bath. She liked baths on rainy nights. She lit a small candle on the sink, placed a folded towel on a chair, and set her phone on the vanity with the sound off. The hot water ran with a soft hiss. Outside, a siren wailed far away, but it faded as it moved past. Inside, the music was low and calm. 2 floors down, a neighbor had called 911. She thought she heard scratching and a soft thud in the hallway near 12B. She had a new baby and felt nervous when sounds were unclear. She spoke quickly to the operator. She said 12B, but also described the door as the first one off the elevator. It was not the first door off the elevator. She was tired and worried, and she got mixed up. The operator typed a note that said, "Possible break-in, 12B, first door off elevator." The operator stayed calm and asked questions, but the notes, the door description, and the apartment letters did not line up. The call was transferred to dispatch. 2 officers were close by in a patrol car. It was a busy night. They got the call and headed to the building. Dispatch repeated the address and the note about the door. First one off the elevator. The building had 2 doors facing the elevator on the 12th floor, 12A on the left, 12B on the right. The first door you would see if you stepped out and turned slightly left was 12A. If you turned slightly right, it was 12B. In a quiet moment, it would be simple to check the numbers twice. On a busy night with the rain, the radio chatter, and the idea of a possible break-in, small details can feel less clear. The officers entered the lobby and spoke with the night doorman, who knew only that someone called about a noise upstairs. The elevator doors closed and rose slowly. When the officers reached the 12th floor, they looked down the hall and saw both doors. The carpet muffled their steps. They did not hear voices. The note, "First door off elevator," echoed in their minds. One officer pointed to 12A. They stood there and listened. They heard water somewhere inside a unit, but they could not see which. They knocked firmly and announced themselves. No one answered. They looked again at the note, and then at the doorframe. Inside the apartment, Maya was in the bathroom. The bathwater ran. Music was playing in the other room, too soft to be heard in the hall. Steam floated up in the bathroom mirror. She turned the knobs and tested the water with her hand. Noodle pawed at the door, curious. The knocks were firm, but the sound was lost under the water and the music. She hummed a little while she moved her hair into a loose bun. She felt relaxed and safe, her mind drifting to the soup, to a TV show she might watch after the bath, to a book she had been reading. She did not know anyone was at her door. In the hallway, the officers tried the handle. It was locked, as normal doors are. They called again. A second set of officers arrived from a different unit nearby because the call had used the word break-in. The team lead made a fast choice based on limited notes and the idea of a resident possibly in danger. They knocked again and announced clearly. Still no answer. One officer thought he heard movement, maybe the sound of water. The team lead decided to make entry. He radioed the decision, and another officer began the standard steps to open the door. The goal was not to frighten anyone. The goal was to ensure safety inside. Their voices were clear and firm, not angry. It was quick, and then the door gave way. The apartment filled with sounds in a rush, the door opening, shoes on the carpet, calm but strong voices calling out, "Police." The music in the living room was still soft, a strange contrast to the new noise. Noodle ran under the couch. Maya heard the sudden change and froze. The hot water hissed into silence as she turned the knobs off by instinct. Her heart beat fast. She grabbed the towel on the chair and wrapped it around herself. She stood very still and listened. Were there people in her living room? She could not believe it at first. It felt like a mistake, like a strange dream. She took a breath and said, "Hello? Who is there?" Her voice echoed in the bathroom. An officer near the hall heard the voice and called back, "Police, announce yourself." His tone was loud so he could be heard, but he tried to keep it respectful. The team followed their process, moving room by room, keeping their lines clear. One officer, a woman, moved closer to the bathroom door and said in a steady voice, "Ma'am, this is the police. Are you safe? Please tell us if you are safe." Maya said, "I am safe. I am in the bathroom. I am covered. Please wait." Her voice shook a little, but her words were clear. She did not want to open the door right away. She needed a second to breathe. She needed to understand. In the living room, another officer scanned the space. He saw a couch, a cat toy, a small stack of books, and a low shelf by the window. On the shelf, in silver frames, were photos of Maya with her mother at public events. In one photo, Maya stood beside a woman giving a speech at a podium. Behind them was a seal with an eagle. In another, Maya and the same woman stood together at a holiday event, smiling. The officer looked at the nameplate on the shelf. Maya, Carter. He looked again at the photos. He knew the face of the woman in the pictures. He had seen her on the news many times. He felt a wave of confusion and concern. How could this be the right place for a break-in call? Something did not match. By the bathroom door, the female officer said softly, "Ma'am, if you are safe, please put on what you need. We will give you a moment." She stepped back so Maya could have privacy. The team lead held up a hand to keep everyone settled. The mood shifted from urgent to careful. In the kitchen, a gentle steam still rose from the pot with the lid on. The apartment smelled like soup and a clean candle. Nothing looked broken except the door, which now stood slightly open with a split near the latch. It was the kind of detail that hurts to see in any home, because a door means safety, and now it looked different. Maya dried her hands and took a deep breath. She placed the towel more securely around herself. She opened the bathroom door slowly, just enough to speak to the female officer, who kept her eyes on Maya's face and not on the rest of her. "I live here," Maya said. "This is 12A. I think there is a mistake." Her voice was steady now, the steadiness that comes when a person reaches for control in a strange moment. The officer nodded and said, "Thank you. We will sort this out." She asked for Maya's name. "Maya Carter," Maya said. The name settled in the air like a key in a lock. The officer in the living room who had seen the photos moved closer, to the shelf. He did not touch anything. He looked from the frames to Maya's face, just visible past the bathroom door. He felt the weight of a possible error growing. He leaned toward the team lead and, in a lower voice meant for the radio, said, "Hold, I need a supervisor. I think we have the wrong unit." He glanced again at the photo with the holiday decorations. There was no doubt about who stood with Maya in that picture. He spoke into his shoulder mic, giving the apartment number, the findings in the room, and the request for a watch commander. His voice, calm but tight, carried the shape of the new problem. The door was open, the resident was safe, and nothing inside suggested a crime. The details from dispatch did not match what they were seeing. In that moment, the apartment felt both crowded and very quiet. Maya stood in the bathroom doorway, holding her towel, her mind moving fast. She noticed the careful way the female officer looked at her face and spoke to her with respect. The watch commander arrived before the elevator doors had fully opened. He stepped out with a calm face and a notepad in hand, listening first, speaking second. The team lead gave a short update in a low voice. Wrong unit likely. Resident safe. Door damaged, body cameras on. The commander nodded and raised his open hand to signal a softer posture. The hallway grew quieter. Inside the apartment, the female officer kept her voice gentle by the bathroom door. "Take your time, ma'am, we will give you space." Her words were simple and steady, like a small bridge across a shaky moment. Maya felt the towel's edge, with her fingers to make sure it was tight. She breathed in slowly. The steam had started to fade from the mirror. The candle on the sink made a small circle of light that felt friendly. She could hear different tones now. More measured voices. More pauses. She cracked the door a little wider and said, "I need a minute to change." The female officer stepped back and turned her shoulder so Maya would have privacy. "Of course," she said. "I'll stay right here, and I won't look in." The words mattered. The way she said them mattered even more. In the living room, the officer who had noticed the photos kept his eyes on the shelf. He had already radioed for the commander and flagged the possible connection. Now that the commander was on scene, he spoke softly. "Sir, photographs show resident with Director Carter. Nameplate reads Maya Carter." The commander did not react with surprise. He wrote 2 lines on his notepad, then looked at the team lead. "Confirm the original call details with dispatch. Unit letter, door description, everything." The team lead keyed his radio and asked for a readback. The dispatcher, moving quickly but carefully, read the notes. 12B suspected break-in. Caller also said first door off elevator. The commander glanced at the 12A plate, then at 12B across the hall. He exhaled. "We're going to fix this." Maya dressed in simple, soft clothes. Sweatpants, a t-shirt, warm socks. She wrapped a cardigan around herself and took another breath. The first shock had faded, but her chest still felt tight, like after a sprint. She opened the bathroom door and found the female officer waiting with a folded blanket. "This is for comfort," the officer said. "You may not need it, but sometimes it helps." Maya took it and appreciated the gesture more than she expected. "Thank you," she said. The word felt small and honest. She walked into the living room with careful steps, keeping the blanket around her shoulders like a shield that was not heavy. The commander entered only as far as the doorway, then stopped. He kept his hands visible and his voice neutral. "Ms. Carter, I am the watch commander. I'm sorry for the disruption. Our priority now is your safety, your privacy, and a clear record of what happened." He introduced himself by name. He did not fill the room with excuses. He asked, "Would you like to sit? Would you prefer I speak from the hallway?" Maya looked at the couch where Noodle's eyes glowed from under the edge. "The hallway is fine," she said. She did not want more uniforms in her space. The commander nodded, stayed in the doorway, and motioned the team lead back a step so he would not block the light. "First," the commander said, "we need to confirm the details of the original call. Second, we will document everything here. Third, we will provide you with a case number and clear next steps. Fourth, we will repair your door tonight with a temporary plate, and the city will cover the cost of a full repair." He spoke in a list so she could hold on to the order. Lists can be like handrails. We are recording on our body cameras. That is standard. You have the right to request this footage later. He stopped and waited for any question. Maya thought, for a moment. Are there officers in my bedroom? She asked. No. The team lead answered immediately. We cleared the living room and kitchen. We did not go into your bedroom after we heard you speak. We limited our movement once we understood you were safe. The female officer added. I stayed at the bathroom door. That is all. Maya nodded and lowered her shoulders a bit. She pointed to a small table near the entryway. There are envelopes with my mail. They show my name and 12A. The commander looked at the team lead. He picked up the top envelope without bending it and read out, Maya Carter, 12A. He put it back where he found it. He stepped into the hall to look at the 12B door again, then spoke to the radio. Dispatch confirmed, caller said 12B and also first door off the elevator. Those are not the same door. We need a note on the call that the description conflicted with the unit letter. The dispatcher answered. Confirmed, adding detail now. The commander wrote another line on his notepad. Address mismatch due to caller description. A neighbor's. Door opened down the hall with a quiet click. A tired woman in a robe held a baby monitor in one hand and peeked out. She looked worried and curious. The commander spoke gently across the hall. Ma'am, we have things under control. Thank you for your patience. The woman nodded, then, after a small pause, said, I called because I heard something. I said 12B. I'm sorry if I mixed up the door part. Her voice had the soft crackle of a long day. The commander answered, You did the right thing to call if you felt uncertain. Our job is to confirm clearly before we act. That is on us. The woman's eyes softened with relief, and she closed her door with care so the noise would not wake her child. Inside the apartment, the female officer noticed the soup pot on the stove, the lid still on, the burner off. Would you like me to turn off the stove at the wall for safety? She asked. It's off, Maya said. Thank you. Small, practical questions helped. They made the room feel like a normal room again, not a scene. The officer crouched to look under the couch. Hi, buddy, she whispered to Noodle. You're okay. The cat blinked, which is a cat's way to nod. The commander offered Maya a choice. We can take your statement now with a short form, or we can schedule a follow-up visit tomorrow during daylight. We can also arrange a female officer to handle the entire interview if that helps. Maya thought about sleep and about memory. Sometimes details grow fuzzy overnight. Sometimes they become sharp. Let's do a short form now, she said. Then a full follow-up tomorrow with a female officer present. The commander agreed. He pulled a small clipboard from a pouch and wrote the case number at the top in clean digits. He repeated the number out loud so Maya could add it to her phone notes. The team lead stood at the broken door with another officer and examined the split near the latch. We can install a temporary plate tonight, he said to the commander. It won't be perfect, but it will make the door close and lock. Then maintenance can do a full repair tomorrow. The commander nodded approval. Do it, he said. He turned back to Maya. We will not leave you with a door that does not close. His words were simple, but they carried weight. A door is more than wood and metal. It's a promise. Maya asked for names and badge numbers. She did not ask with anger. She asked like a person putting pieces in order. Each officer provided the information clearly, one by one. The female officer wrote her name on a small card and placed it on the entry table where Maya could find it. Later, the commander explained the path of review. The body camera footage would be logged, the call log would be checked, the decision points would be written out. Internal Affairs would automatically review any forced entry that did not lead to an emergency or arrest. He did not say this in a defensive tone. He said it like a map. A small sound came from the hallway, and for a moment the building felt normal again. A dry cough from someone upstairs, the elevator hum, rain on the windows. The world continued, even in the middle of this. The female officer asked, Would a glass of water help? It was a basic question, and somehow it loosened a knot inside Maya's chest. Yes, please, she said. The officer asked permission before stepping into the kitchen. She brought back a glass and set it on a coaster next to the couch. Maya sat and held it with both hands. The warmth of the blanket and the cool of the water felt like balance. The officer who had first misread the first door off elevator note looked ashamed. He kept replaying the steps in his mind, the way people do when they care about doing things right. The commander noticed and spoke to the whole team, not just him. We confirm unit letter and door plate when safe, he said. We slow down for 10 seconds to check confusions in the notes. That is our practice. Tonight we did not do that well enough. We will address it. He spoke without blame. Blame can close ears. Instruction can open them. In the hallway, a young man from farther down the floor had stepped out and quietly filmed the broken door for a few seconds. He did not film people's faces. He kept the camera on the wood and the frame. He looked worried but curious, the way people do when they do not know a whole story. The team lead asked him calmly not to block the path for the door repair, and thanked him for giving space. The young man nodded and returned to his apartment. The clip might go online later with no caption, or with a guess. That is how stories travel now. Maya did not know about the clip yet, but even if she had, she would have wanted the record to be true and complete, not rushed. The temporary repair kit arrived from a patrol car. 2 officers worked with quiet focus, aligning a plate and tightening screws until the latch met the strike with a clean click. They tested the lock twice. It worked. They swept up small splinters so no one would step on them barefoot in the night. The female office. After the officers left, the apartment felt too quiet. The repaired door clicked properly, but Maya kept looking at it, as if it might open again on its own. Noodle stretched across the back of the couch and watched her with slow blinks, the kind that usually made her smile. Tonight she only managed a small one. She finished the bowl of soup and put the spoon down carefully, as if noise could shake loose the calm she was trying to build. The blanket the female officer had offered was folded on the armrest. She placed it over her legs and tried to notice ordinary things, the soft lamplight, the steady hum of the fridge, the distant rain. These sounds were not threats, they were home. She repeated that to herself. Sleep felt like a far place. Maya stood, checked the lock again, and then checked the little chain she almost never used. She drew the curtains and made tea with honey. She kept the TV off because she did not want to hear voices full of opinions. She moved through the rooms, not searching for anything, just giving her body a loop to walk until her mind could accept that the night was now calm. On the shelf with the photos, she paused. The frames showed public moments, strong and bright. Tonight had been private, messy, and confusing. She touched the corner of one frame and then lowered her hand. She did not want to lean on that world to solve a problem every neighbor could face. Her phone vibrated on the table. It was a message from her friend, Tessa. "Are you okay? I saw a clip. Looks like your floor." Tessa attached a short video that showed the hallway carpet, the broken door, and the top of a uniformed shoulder. The clip was only a few seconds long and had no sound. It did not show Maya or any officers' faces. The caption someone had added said, "Police entry, 12th floor." Comments already sat under it. People guessing, people arguing, people sure about things they could not possibly know. Maya's chest tightened, but the feeling came from something clear. Stories can grow without roots if you do not add facts. She typed back to Tessa, "I'm safe, thank you. I will handle it." Then she put the phone face down and stared at the tea steam making small clouds in the lamplight. She opened the Notes app and began a simple list for the morning. She titled, "It What Happened Simply." Her lines were short. "Wrong unit, 12A entered, call said 12B, I was in bath." Officers announced, "Door damaged, I identified myself." Female officer gave privacy. Commander apologized. Case number, temporary repair, follow-up scheduled. After that list, she began another. Questions. She wrote, "How do they confirm? Unit letters? What happens when caller description conflicts with address? Privacy steps? How do they support residents after entry? Who pays for repairs? How will they prevent this next time?" She wrote slowly, choosing plain words. She wanted to show respect for the hard work officers do and still ask for clear steps that keep people safe in their homes. Tessa called, but Maya let it go to voicemail. She loved her friend, but she needed quiet. She messaged back instead. "I'll talk tomorrow, just tired." She placed the phone on Do Not Disturb and walked to the bathroom. The candle was out, and the room smelled faintly of lavender and smoke. She hung the towel to dry and folded the bath mat with neat corners. She looked at the tub and then at her reflection, still a little pale. "You're okay," she said out loud, not loudly, but enough to hear it. The word okay felt honest. She was not cheerful, but she was not harmed. Sometimes naming the exact state is the first steadying step. When she turned off the last lamp, the city's dim glow slipped around the edges of the curtains. Lying in bed, she practiced the breathing her mother had taught her years ago. In for 4 counts, out for 6. Her chest lifted, fell. The numbers gave her mind a small job. She thought about the female officer's steady voice and the commander's list. She thought about the neighbor with the baby, brave enough to call when something sounded wrong, and kind enough to speak up in the hall. She wondered about the officers who had stood at her door and chosen first off the elevator instead of 12B, not because they did not care, but because busy nights can push people forward too fast. She did not want a story that punished people for one mistake. She wanted a plan that made the mistake less likely for everyone. Sleep finally came like a slow tide. In a light dream, she walked down her hallway and every door had letters and numbers that danced around like magnets. She stood still and waited, and the letters settled into place, one by one. When she woke before dawn, she knew why the dream felt so plain. Her mind was rehearsing the idea that clear markings, calm steps, and a second check can change outcomes. She made coffee at 5 o'clock because there was no point in chasing more sleep. The room felt different in early light, cooler, quiet in a hopeful way. She opened the curtains and watched the street glisten, washed clean by rain. Her phone buzzed with a private number. She answered, and her mother's voice came through, steady and warm. "Are you all right?" her mother asked, starting with the only question that mattered. Maya said, "I am safe. It was the wrong door. They fixed it for the night. I have a case number and a follow-up this morning." Her mother listened without interrupting. Then she said, "Do you want me to make calls?" It was a real offer, not a show of power. It was a mother offering to lift a weight from her child. Maya sat at the table, looked at her lists, and decided who she wanted to be in this story. "No," she said gently. "Not unless the normal process fails. I want to do this the way any neighbor would. If the process works for me, it should work for them too." There was a pause, and then her mother said, "I respect that. I will be here if you need me. Document everything. Ask clear questions. Keep it calm." Maya smiled because those were the same steps she had already written down. "I will," she said. They talked for a few more minutes about small things, the cat, the rain, a recipe they both liked, because ordinary topics are part of healing. When they ended the call, the apartment felt a little sturdier, like the walls themselves had heard a promise to choose fairness over force. At 7, she got a text from a number labeled IA Scheduling. It confirmed the morning appointment. A female officer and an internal affairs investigator would arrive at 9:30. The message asked if she needed a support person present. Maya thought about Tessa and decided to keep the room small. "No, thank you," she typed. "I prefer a focused, quiet conversation." She showered, dressed in simple jeans and a soft sweater, and made toast with jam. She checked the door and found the temporary plate still solid. She put a sticky note above the knob for herself. Breathe. Facts. Respect. Clarity. It was not for anyone else to see. It was her reminder. At 8, the building's maintenance person knocked gently and asked if he could measure the door for the permanent repair. He was kind and moved carefully as if the air in the apartment might break. "This plate is secure for now," he said. "We'll replace the whole section this afternoon. No charge to you." He wrote the appointment, timed down, and gave her a thumbs up that made her smile for real. He told her he had already placed extra letter stickers on the 12A and 12B plates. thicker and brighter. The hallway looked clearer in one small way. That mattered. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a polite message from the watch commander. "Good morning. We're prepared to provide the body camera request form at your interview. We've also updated dispatch training notes to add a reminder for unit letter confirmation when a caller gives a door description. I want you to know the wheels are already turning." Maya read it twice. She felt a light feeling, not joy exactly, but recognition. A system is made of people, and some people inside it were trying. She replied, "Thank you for the update. I will proceed with the standard process." Then came the part she had not planned. 2 emails from unknown addresses asking for a comment. The subject lines referenced the hallway clip. She closed them without opening. She was not ready to become a symbol in a story that was still unfolding. She would speak in the proper room first, to the people responsible for investigating. After, that if information needed to be shared, it would be clear and careful. She placed the phone face down again and looked at the sticky note on the door. Breathe. Facts. Respect. Clarity. Those 4 words formed a small square she could step into and stand inside without wobbling. 9:30 arrived right on time. A knock came, not too loud. Maya opened the door to see the female officer from last night and a plainclothes investigator wearing a simple blazer. Both smiled gently. "Good morning, Ms. Carter," the investigator said. "Thank you for meeting with us. We will keep this focused and respectful. May we come in?" Maya stepped back and gestured to the living room. Noodle watched from the bookshelf like a tiny guard who had finally been promoted. Coffee sat on the table for everyone. The investigator noticed and said, "Only if you have extra. Otherwise, we're fine." Maya poured. Small courtesies help keep edges soft. Before they began, Maya said what had been sitting in her chest since the moment the door burst open. "I want to be clear," she said. "I do not want special treatment because of who my mother is. I want the same process any resident would receive. I will give a full and honest account. I will ask for a fair and honest review, and I hope what we do here improves the steps for the next person, whoever they are." The investigator nodded and clicked his pen. "Understood," he said. "Our job is to fission." The morning after the interview, Maya sat at her table with a notebook and a calm cup of tea. She wrote a title at the top of the page in clear block letters: "Simple Steps to Prevent Wrong Door Entries." She did not want a long paper full of big words. She wanted a 1-page plan anyone could read and use. She listed 5 ideas she had already tested in her head many times, then she read them out loud to hear if they sounded human. They did. Her first idea was a 2-step address check before entry when the scene allowed it. Confirm the number and confirm the unit letter. If a caller's description said, "First door off the elevator," officers would still pause for 10 seconds to look at the door plate and any mailbox label. Her second idea was a small privacy and dignity step once a person inside answered. If the scene was safe, pause, lower voices, and provide something to cover a person who was undressed. Her third idea was a dispatch script change. When a caller gave both an address and a door description, dispatch would repeat back the unit letter twice and ask the caller to confirm again. Her fourth idea was a short, timed checklist that fit the rhythm of real calls. 30 seconds total when conditions were safe, with clear words like look, confirm, announce, enter. Her fifth idea was a post-incident support card. A small card that explained what happened next, who to call, how to get the door fixed, how to request body cam footage, and how to file a complaint or a thank you. She sent the 1-page plan to the watch commander and asked, could this work as a pilot? She did not send it with a demand. She sent it like a neighbor who believed in shared safety. The commander wrote back faster than she expected. This is practical. I'll share it with the chief this afternoon. A few minutes later, he added, would you be open to a meeting with the chief and our training captain? Maya read the message twice. Her heart beat a little faster, but not from fear. She wanted the steps to live outside her apartment. Yes, she replied. I can come today after 3. She messaged Tessa. I'm meeting them at 3 to discuss simple steps. Tessa sent back a row of encouraging emojis and then a thought that made Maya smile. Plain words win, no fluff. That was exactly the point. If the plan could be explained in plain words, it could be taught, remembered, and used in the middle of busy nights. At 3 o'clock, Maya entered the police headquarters through a side door the commander had suggested to avoid any attention. The building looked like many public buildings. Glass, stone, metal, large windows that tried to promise transparency. The commander met her in the lobby and walked with her to a modest conference room. The police chief, the training captain, and a city attorney were already seated. They stood and greeted her with quiet care. The chief said, Ms. Carter, thank you for coming. We understand you want real fixes that help everyone, not special actions for one person. We share that goal. They began with facts. The training. Captain projected the dispatch transcript and the timeline. The call said 12B. The note also said first door off elevator. The unit letter and the description had not matched. The team had chosen the description, which pointed them to 12A. The captain pointed to a box on the screen that said, confirm address when safe, and then said, we wrote that box into our manual for years, but we did not make it a timed habit. That is on us. He said it without excuse. Maya placed her one-page plan on the table. I am not a cop, she said with a small smile, but I am a person who was home. These steps are from that view. She walked them through the 5 ideas. When she described the 30-second confirm then enter checklist, the training, Captain nodded slowly. 30 seconds is a real cost on some calls, he said, but a good investment on others. The chief asked, how do we make sure people do not use the checklist when a life is in danger? Maya had expected that question. She pointed to the first line of the page where she had written in simple, bold letters, if there is a clear, immediate threat to life, enter. If not, confirm, then enter. The attorney leaned forward. That clarity matters, she said. It matches the legal standard we already use. Your words make it easier to teach. They discussed the privacy and dignity step. The training captain said, we teach respect, but we do not name this moment clearly. We should. He looked at the female officer's note from the night before and read the sentence Maya had written down. If a person is undressed and the scene is safe, pause and provide cover. He said, we can add a required line to our call-out. We will give you a moment to cover yourself. That sentence could be part of muscle memory. Everyone wrote it down. It was only a few words, but it carried weight. They moved to the dispatch script. The attorney smiled at the plain language fix. Repeat the unit letter twice, she said. Ask the caller to confirm again. That is an easy change we can do today. She sent a message to the dispatch manager while they spoke. It felt like pulling a thread that should have been pulled long ago. The chief added, and we can train officers to notice conflict in notes. If an address and a description do not match, call it out on the radio before entry. Give a second for someone to catch it. There was one more idea Maya had not written because she feared it might sound too heavy. She decided to say it anyway. If the scene is not urgent, she said, officers could take a quick body cam photo of the door plate before entry. Not to post later, just to show they checked. It is proof of the pause. The training captain tilted his head and thought. That is creative, he said. But we have to be careful about adding steps that pull hands from tools. What about a voice line? Camera on, confirming door plate 12A or 12B. That becomes part of the audio record. The chief nodded. Yes, fast, hands-free, and recorded. I like that. Maya felt a small warmth inside. The room was not arguing with her. It was building with her. Then came the hard part. A union representative had joined mid-meeting, a tall man with a tired face that came from real nights on real streets. He listened and then said, I support safety, but I worry about adding friction at the worst possible time. You are not hearing dishes break on the other side of your door. Sometimes we are. The checklist sounds like a nice idea from a kitchen table, not from a stairwell. His voice was not rude. It was careful and honest from his lane. Maya did not argue. She gave him respect first. "I hear you," she said. "I put the line at the very top. If there is a clear, immediate threat to life, enter. Do not check. Do not wait. But when the threat is unclear, a short pause can stop the wrong door from being forced. I am not asking you to be slow when you need to be fast. I am asking you to be sure when you can be sure." The union rep rubbed his forehead and then nodded once. "That is the right way to say it," he said. "Write that exact sentence into the plan." They agreed on a 90-day pilot in 2 zones, one busy and one quieter, to test the checklist, the dispatch repeat, the audio confirmation of door plates, and the privacy line. The chief said, "We will measure time to entry, number of corrected, address errors before entry, number of complaints, and resident satisfaction after calls." The training captain added, "We will run short scenario drills during roll call, 10 minutes a shift for 2 weeks. Small, frequent, sticky." The attorney said she would draft the pilot order that afternoon and send it for signatures. The speed of the room surprised Maya in a good way. When people agree on simple goals, action can begin faster than fear suggests. After the meeting, the commander walked Maya to the elevator. "You did well," he said. "You kept it simple. You kept it fair." In the lobby, a community liaison handed Maya a small stack of the support cards she had suggested. "These will go in every patrol car next week," the liaison said. The card was the size of a business card and said, "We're sorry for the disruption. Here are your next steps," with checkboxes and phone numbers. It felt like a small piece of kindness turned into paper. Later that week, the city invited Maya to a small round table with the mayor, the chief, 2 community leaders, the neighbor with the baby, and the building manager. They met in a library room with big windows and wooden tables that made everyone sit a little straighter. The mayor listened more than he spoke, which put people at ease. The neighbor said she still felt nervous at night but was glad she had called. The building manager said he had already ordered larger letter plates for every floor. He looked shy about it, but proud too. "Sometimes we wait for big policies," he said, "but small metal letters can be a policy as well." The community leaders raised concerns beyond Maya's case. Language barriers on calls, how renters can get fast help with damaged doors, how seniors can hear knocks if they use hearing aids. The group made a list, then ranked the items by effort and impact. It was not magic, it was steady. The mayor promised a modest fund for emergency door repairs for low-income residents and a small grant to help buildings improve signage. These were not dramatic moves, but they were real. That evening, Maya and Tessa sat on a park bench with paper cups of hot chocolate. The air held a soft chill, the kind that made people lean into their sweaters. Tessa asked, "How do you feel?" Maya thought for a moment. "Like I put a stone in the right place in a small wall," she said. "It is not the whole wall, but it will hold other stones." Tessa laughed softly. "You and your plain pictures, I love them." They watched a child chase soap bubbles. 90 days after the pilot began, the conference room felt different. The same table, the same chairs, the same windows, but the mood had moved from worry to steady purpose. The police chief, the training captain, the watch commander, the city attorney, 2 community leaders, and the neighbor with the baby all sat together. Maya took a quiet seat at the end, more observer than speaker. She had brought nothing but a small notebook and a pen. Her 1-page plan was no longer a paper on her fridge. It had become a set of small habits living in people's hands and voices. The training captain stood first with a simple slide. 3 bars for 3 measures. The bar for address errors caught before entry had climbed. The bar for forced entry, complaints had dropped. The bar for average time to entry when no clear threat had risen by a few seconds, the kind of rise that looks big on a chart but small in a hallway. He spoke in plain words. "We saved doors," he said. "We saved sleep, we saved trust. We added seconds in safe situations, and we did not add seconds in urgent ones." He paused. Officers used the audio door plate confirmation line in 82% of eligible calls. When they forgot, The radio reminder helped. Dispatch repeated unit letters twice in 97% of mixed description calls. We still want 100%, but the curve is right. The chief followed with a short statement that sounded like a promise kept. We will take the pilots citywide, he said. The confirm then enter checklist becomes standard for non-urgent entries. The privacy sentence becomes part of our muscle memory. The dispatch repeat stays. He turned to the city attorney, who added, we are also creating a simple public page that explains the steps. Anyone can read it and know what to expect. The neighbor with the baby smiled, relief softening her face. I sleep better, she said quietly. Part of that is my baby learning to sleep. Part of that is the stickers and the new plates. Part of it is knowing you'll check twice. They spent time on stories because numbers help, but stories show what numbers feel like. An officer from the busier zone shared one. He and his partner had gone to a late-night call about scratching near an apartment. The notes had a full address and a confusing extra line. Door with plant. The hallway had 2 doors with plants. Old detail, unhelpful detail. The officer said into his body camera, audio confirmation, door plate shows 9B, and paused. Dispatch repeated the unit letter. The caller, calmer now, said, I meant 9A, I'm sorry. They switched doors. The scratching turned out to be a small dog stuck behind a shoe rack. No door broke. No one woke up scared. The pause felt like good work, the officer said. Not slow work, good work. A different officer shared a story from a quiet morning. A woman answered the door in a robe, startled by the sudden knock. He used the privacy sentence just as they had practiced. We will give you a moment to cover yourself. He lowered his voice and turned his shoulder so she could step back without feeling watched. She returned in a minute and thanked them for the respect. The problem was a simple false alarm. A door sensor stuck. The line helped me as much as it helped her, the officer said. It told my body what to do. It kept me human. The community leaders brought up language. The translated cards with key sentences, 5 languages to start, more coming, had become small bridges in tense moments. One leader told of an older man who did not hear knocks well. He opened his door late, confused. The officers, following, the new habit kept distance, spoke slowly, and used a large print card. We are here to help. We will speak clearly. The man smiled with relief. He later brought cookies to the precinct to say thank you. The chief smiled at that detail. Cookies are a small sign that something is working. The city's maintenance office reported that the signage grant had gone fast. Buildings used it to add clearer letter plates, brighter arrows, and simple A on left, B on right stickers at elevator exits. A map in the room showed dots across the city where tiny metal improvements had landed. The mayor's representative said, sometimes safety is a 30-second checklist. Sometimes it's 2 screws and a plate. The room nodded. The neighbor, with the baby, lifted her hand. And sometimes it's a person brave enough to ask for fairness out loud, she said, glancing at Maya. That part matters too. Maya did not make a speech. She asked only one question, the question she had written on the sticky note above her door on the first morning. Are we making this easy to remember on bad nights? The training captain pointed to the laminated vest cards and the radio. Reminder. We are learning to say the same small lines the same way every time, he said. That is how habits stick. The watch commander added, we also changed our roll call. Quick drills, daily, tiny, real. We practiced the words, out loud. He looked at Maya and said, your plain words helped. That afternoon, a letter arrived at Maya's apartment from the department. It was not dramatic. It was careful. It stated the facts of the wrong door entry, apologized again, and listed the changes made. The checklist, the privacy sentence, the dispatch repeat, the audio door plate line, the support cards, the signage grant, the emergency door repair fund. It included a note that the door repair at her building had been paid, and it explained how any resident could request body camera footage or file a complaint or compliment. At the bottom, in a line of simple text, it said, thank you for helping us do our work better. Maya placed the letter in a folder marked home, not problem. It felt like the right place. A week later, she received another envelope, this one handwritten. Inside was a short message from a stranger in a different neighborhood. They almost came to the wrong door, it read. But they paused and said the door number out loud for the camera. They got it right. My kids did not wake up. Thanks for whatever you did. There was no signature beyond a first name, no return address. Maya did not need one. She placed the note on her fridge with the cat magnet where her one-page plan used to be. Some papers are for planning. Some are for reminding yourself why you planned. Maya's own life had become normal again in the best way. She worked, she took her evening jog, she made soup, she read on the couch with Noodle tucked into the curve of her legs. When the building maintenance person tested her door one last time after the full repair, the latch made a clean sound. She added back a small bell to the knob, not as a guard but as a friendly chime. The bell clicked gently whenever she came home, and it made her smile. Safety, she realized, was not only about locks, it was also about rituals that tell your body, you belong here. She wrote a short, friendly guide for neighbors in her building, one page like the plan she had sent to the department. It was titled, After a Police Visit, Simple Next Steps. It said, 1. Breathe. 2. Ask for names and badge numbers if you need them. 3. Write down what you remember. 4. Request the support card and the case number. 5. Call the non-emergency line if something still feels unclear. 6. If something went well, say thank you. It helps the good stick. The building manager printed the guide and placed it near the mailboxes. People glanced at it, nodded, and returned to their day. It felt like a small light left on in a hallway, useful if you need it, gentle if you don't. One Saturday, Maya visited her mother for a quiet lunch. They cooked together, grilled vegetables, a simple salad, and warm bread. They did not talk about titles or offices. They talked about books and the cat and a trail they wanted to hike when the weather turned. At the end, her mother said, "I'm proud that you didn't use my name to get what you wanted." Maya looked down at the bread she was slicing and answered, "I wanted something that would work even if I didn't have your name." They both understood the difference. Power can frighten a system into moving. Fairness can teach it to keep moving. In the weeks that followed, a local community group invited Maya to a small evening circle at the library. She went sitting in the back row with a notebook as usual. People shared worries and hopes. A student asked how to advocate for change without shouting. Maya said, "Write your idea so a tired person can use it at midnight. If it survives tired, it will survive time." The room laughed softly, the kind of laugh that says, "That will stick." A few days later, an officer and a trainee stood outside an apartment where a faint alarm beeped. The trainee looked nervous, eager to do well. The officer, remembering the new habit, said for the camera, "Audio confirmation, doorplate shows 4C. He waited a breath. Dispatch repeated, "Confirmed 4C. Inside, a resident who had burned toast opened the door with a wave of embarrassment. The officer used the privacy sentence in a gentle way, because dignity is not only about clothing, it is also about tone. "We'll give you a moment," he said, smiling kindly. The trainee watched and learned. Habits grow when they are seen. Maya's story did not turn into headlines after all. A few short articles mentioned the pilot becoming policy. A radio segment praised the simple words and the quick training. But mostly, the story lived in doorways, in radios, in tiny cards that fit in a palm, in stickers that told a tired delivery driver which way was which. It lived in choices made in seconds, choices that felt ordinary because they had been practiced. On a rainy evening that looked a lot like the night everything began, Maya ran a bath again. The apartment felt safe and warm. She lit a new candle, set a clean towel on the chair, and placed her phone on the vanity sound off. She heard a laugh in